I've done four of these little meditation things, whatever you want to call them. This will be number five. Alrighty, so we've done a few of these, haven't we? We've done four, I guess. This is number five. Just sort of hesitate to call them meditations, but you could call it a meditation if you like. I had one teacher who used to say like the body is the only thing that's really in the moment. The body is present. Um, It's like I've got a little pet whippet, and it's if you've got a dog or any animal, any pet, I guess it's like they're great at reminding you just to live in the moment. They're always reacting and responding to things going on around them. They're not really thinking about their career move or whatever it is, all the other millions of things that we negotiate as humans. So yeah, if we can anchor ourselves to the body. Um, I think it's helpful just because we do want to live from our minds so much of the time. What I was going to show you today is it sort of doubles up as a bit of a health practice. For those who don't know, I had my health just basically dropped off a cliff when my daughter was born. She's coming up to five, winter solstice baby, so she's coming up to five in a couple of weeks. And yeah, so I was had to navigate some really tough terrain, really sick at the first few years. My lymph system, I was like the marshmallow man. My armpits, instead of having a cave in there, was just like a flat. Everything was kind of watery and stuff. So I had to learn to do some lymph massage on myself. It's interesting. I was doing it on myself and on my father, who was in the hospice at the time. So that was interesting. Um, so I had to learn all about the lymph. Got to be a sort of subject matter expert in lymph, or just how to move it around, I guess. And it doesn't take much. It doesn't have a pump of its own. It relies on sort of movement, skin moving, and obviously when we're normally active and moving around, it sort of takes care of itself. But when we get chronic sickness and we're ill and slumped in our beds and chairs and whatnot, then it doesn't get a lot of this natural movement. So we have to sort of step in and give it a bit extra TLC. But I found it also a great another way of getting back into the body because it's like like a self-massage thing. So it's obviously really stimulates a lot of nerves in the body, and it's great for the anxiety, gets us out of our head. It just feels you feel the body soften as soon as you start touching it, really. You could do anything, really, and the body would respond well, I'm sure. So it's not, I'll give you a little format. Why don't we start with, yeah, you could sit, I guess if you're sitting up watching the screen, but so if you're sitting up, maybe just feel your butt on the chair, so your sit bones, the bony part of your pelvis. Feel your feet on the floor and go ahead and give yourself a nice, slow but kind of fairly deep inhale. Just nothing forced, but just a nice, so it feels good. breathing in through the nose, ideally. And then you could kind of sigh it out through a mouth. And letting go, kind of exhale. We did that on, I think, the last video. Talked about that vagal breath where we do an audible breath, and it sort of informs the brain that it's okay to relax. So it's a inhale through the nose, nice and deep, and then some kind of yawn, sigh, hum, exhale. Maybe a third one. Feel that expansion, creating space, and the exhale. That's kind of a softness and a letting go, isn't it? That breath out. So just a recentering, sort of three breaths. And then what I would tend to go into, start with the left collarbone. So I tend to rub on the collarbone above. You'll find you've got a squidgy bit above the collarbone, and then come underneath below the collarbone. And like I said, there's no technique. You're just sort of dragging the skin. You could do circles. Yeah, drag it up and down or drag side to side. You might be tender in there when I first started doing it. Certainly when I was ill and stuff, my lymphs, I could feel how sore and maybe inflamed they were. Um, if you wanted like a real recipe, you could just do maybe 10 circles and then move on. But I'm just kind of more intuitive, I guess. I just do it until I get a bit bored and then I move on. I might do some tapping, so I tend to make like a bowl shape. So if you put your hand on your cheeks, it makes that nice kind of cup shape, and then I just do a thump, 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 and that vibration. It's a bit like tapping, so my friends do that. You see a dog. I don't know if I'm setting the dog up with this stuff, but there's a dog in the street barking. Alrighty, so left collarbone, and then we'll move over to the right collarbone. Again, I'll find the bone, and I'll try and slide the skin across the bone. Not too worried about the technique, just getting things moving for a little bit. Come above the collarbone, find that squidgy bit. And again, if there is stuff tender, don't make anything painful. Don't go aggressive on there, but just maybe slow it down and spend a little bit more time just exploring what that tenderness is. And then below the collarbone. If I'm not mindful and I tend to dig in, I tend to sort of start giving myself a bit more of a massage, but really a light touch is enough. And then you could do the cupping thing and give that bit of a reassuring thud. So that's the collarbones. This is where the lymph, the left side is where the lymph circulates into the blood, I believe. So that's the best to clear that is the first point, the left side. Once you clear that, it's like a siphon, drop blood through a straw. Like that's once you've cleared here, then everything should naturally kind of suck into that place. But we come up to behind we follow the jawline, just below the bottom of the ear, I guess, on the neck here. And then just explore in here with some rubbing. And again, you might find it tender. You can go up and down, you can do circles. You could do some light tapping in here. Some people don't, a bit disorientating for some folks. So maybe you just want to stick to the rubbing. It's good in the morning to do. The brain does its thing on a night time when we're sleeping, sort of detoxing, and sort of the brain has its own drainage system. So I guess, if we've got tension here, there's not a lot of room going on. So this will help to drain the brain. Everything it's trying to do on its own, of course. And with anxiety and with we get a lot of tension and a lot of stiffness, don't we? So maybe we're not moving things as much as we would like. So just think about getting all jelly, because that's the opposite of tension, isn't it? That's the opposite of being afraid and rigid is kind of relaxed thing going on. And if you find something interesting, like I just have some tenderness, you can obviously track that back and just follow it. But if you have got limited time, then you can just do 10 and then 10. And then what I would probably come down to is the armpits. So we have a lot of lymph in here. Yeah, any squidgy bit where the body naturally moves is obviously it's the smartest, the body being smart, that's where our lymphs tend to congregate. So if you stick some fingers in your own armpit and then kind of press up towards the throat, I guess would be the angle. You could maybe do both together, or you could do one at a time. Actually, before the armpit one, I'll tend to come into this area here, this where the chest sort of meets the shoulder, and give that a bit of a movement normally. Yeah, so normally I would do this and then come into the armpits, come around here, but there's no right or wrong really. We're just getting things moving. Um, Come down to the stomach. If you put one hand on your belly button, one hand above the belly button, so you obviously got the hard bony ribs here, so below that area. And I tend to do circles, but you could do just rubbing. But sometimes I do this standing, and I'll introduce some spinal sort of twisting movements that can feel nice as well. And then hip crease, so find out where your crease is as you're sitting down. You could do it standing, I guess, if you find it easier to get in there. That bit of a rub. Obviously, normally as we're walking, this area gets moved. And then just the back of the knees. So it's kind of easy when we're sitting, just to get the back of the knees and give those a bit of a squidge. And then what I might do, I might stand and I might sort of bounce up and down just to complete the routine. Or just as I'm sitting here, I'm just going to lift my heels up. So I'm sort of pumping the calves. I think in Chinese medicine, they sort of refer to the calves as like the second heart because it is involved in this pump as we're walking. It's designed to sort of move fluids through our body. Part of the muscle's job, not just helping us walk, but actually moving stuff around the body. So already you might find that little routine gets you back in your body. You might feel you're sort of glowing and hot and just a bit more connected to your body. Um, a nice little routine to sort of layer on the top would be if we do some tapping. So again, follow I'll show you the little taps. So if you just bring your little pincers together, your thumb and your four fingers here, so you make a little woodpecker. So find your collarbones again, this time drop underneath, so that's soft part underneath the collarbones, and then we're just so either side of the throat, I guess here. For some reason, a lot of people find this reassuring. Just feels nice. So I tend to do three big inhales here. So I inhale through the nose and just like a tire deflating, just a slow exhale. Big inhale. One more. Big inhale. Alrighty, I'll come to the sternum, this bony part. It's the single hand this time, same sort of shape with the fingers and thumb, and I'll start tapping here. And working with clients, a lot of grief can come up out of this, so tends to be sort of a point where we have a sense of loss, if we've had loss in our lives, it can be like, oof, there it is, there's a heaviness to it. There's a sadness to it, there's a melancholy. I think there's also a sense of, I don't know, like there is like a pleasing sense to connecting to it. Like you just feel closer to the people maybe we've loved and lost, that's why that melancholy is the sadness, but also, oh, there it is. There's that connection. There's an aliveness, bringing that person back into our hearts and minds. So yeah, don't be surprised if things come up, if you're tapping. Just come back to feeling your feet on the ground if things get a little too much, and just only do as much tapping as feels good for you. So from the sternum, I tend to come find the ribs again and work my way on either side of the abs. And then this time I'm kind of squishing in and up, tapping, but kind of squishing really. Introducing our deep breaths again. Maybe just sitting with whatever's coming up for you. So feet on the ground, bum on the chair. You can close your eyes if that feels okay. Feet on the ground, bum on the chair. Just breathing in and just know that you are breathing in. And breathing out and just know that you are breathing out. So there's a felt sense of breathing in, and there's a felt sense or sensations of breathing out. You might just feel the body moving with the breath, belly or ribs or chest. Or you might have a sense of the air actually coming through the nostrils. I'm breathing in. I'm breathing out. And if you want to simplify it further, you can breathe in just with the internal mantra of just saying I to yourself. So you're breathing in, I. And as you breathe out, it's out. Oh, sorry. As you breathe out, he's just saying am. So breathing in, I. And you're breathing out, am. I am. And with the I am, you'll notice there's no doing or being. There's no person you should be or need to be. All those different hats that we wear and all the standards we hold for ourselves and the loops we mentally try and jump through um, to feel like we have some worth in the world to our loved ones or just a wider audience or just our audience inside our own head. You can put all of that down and just be with that simple I am. That's enough just to be in the world. That's enough. And then just from this more centered place, maybe just asking yourself what you need more of, either today or this week, or maybe even the month as a whole. What do you need more of, and what do you need less of, perhaps? And that answer might not immediately come back to you. You might just have to let it filter through a bit, but just asking the question. Let's see if you can see to your own needs. Just exploring what those needs are, first and foremost. Alrighty, and coming back to yourself, maybe a little bit of movement, just a wriggle on the chair, wriggle the spine a little bit if you've stiffened up, sitting for a bit. Alrighty, thanks guys. Take care.